So, thank you everybody for coming tonight. My name is Clayton Clark. I'm the General Manager for Green Mountain Transit. And tonight we're going to talk about three different potential service changes, two of which are pretty minor, and one of which is pretty major. And so, talking about the first two minor ones, we are looking at adjusting the schedule for the Montpelier link, which is the number 86 route. One of the reasons why we're doing this is that GMT is transferring our rural service to other providers. And so we are no longer going to be the Washington County provider, which means that for us to operate the Montpelier Link service, the buses are all going to be coming out of Burlington, where right now they currently come out of Montpelier and Burlington. So that requires some schedule adjustments, and we want to make sure that we get comment from folks who use that service before we do that change. The next item that we're looking at is changes to the number 5, and we are looking to have that route, which serves Pine Street and the new Champlain Parkway, and we're looking to have that route extend its time on the Champlain Parkway so that it would come down the parkway all the way to Lakeside Avenue. And the reason why we are considering that is because the Social Security office and some Agency of Human Services offices have recently relocated to Lakeside, and the number 5 will be able to serve those offices better. But I suspect that the three of you are probably here to talk about the number changes in the number 4, which is the major one. And so what is being considered is the potential elimination of the number 4, which in its current form is a circulator that travels through the town of Essex and Essex Junction. And this has been a service that for the last decade has been highlighted as being somewhat economically inefficient by VTrans. And so this is why we've been here before talking about whether the local service here can continue. And because of our financial situation, we are once again considering that. And so before we take your input, I want to let you know something that I learned at one of the first public meetings that I attended for GMT. And that was that about almost 2 years ago, we had our first meetings with the public where we had to talk about reducing our service based on our financial constraints. During that time, we've reduced our service by about 19%, unfortunately. And but at the first public meeting, there was a list of potential service cuts, and one of the routes averaged three riders a day, and it was a single run that would connect to downtown Burlington through the south end of Burlington. And so on paper, it's just like, oh, well, only 3 people a day use this service. Must not be very important. And so, of course, the very first person that testified was one of those 3 people that uses that service every day. And he let me know how important it was to him and how its elimination would impact his daily life. And that really hammered home to me that the most important public transit is the public transit that you use. And so whether you're the only person on the bus or it's filled, if you're using it to get where you need to be, that's the most important transit for you. And so one of the things that I want to make sure that people know is that when we pick on our routes that don't have as much folks on them for potential reductions, we know that that route is important to those folks who use it. And so what I'm hoping to hear from you tonight is how the number 4, hello, welcome.
Hi, how are you?
Thank you so much for coming.
Hello.
Yeah. And so what I'm hoping to hear from you all tonight is how the number 4 impacts you and how its elimination would affect you and those you care about in your community. And so we're going to take advantage of the fact that so far we have a small group, and we're going to keep this to be very informal. And what I'm going to do is just ask people, invite them to come up. Please have a seat, and just have tell Chris and I about the number 4. And so I'm sorry, I forgot to introduce myself. So I'm the general manager for Green Mountain Transit, and Chris is our director of planning. And so we want to hear what your thoughts. So who wants to get us started? And Hunter, come on. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for having me here. Thank you guys for letting me speak and stuff like this. My name is Hunter Eddy. I'm the Director of Transportation for the Essex Westford School District. And for us, I think the cancellation of the number 4 would make a pretty profound impact on our students. Right now, for the last 7 months, we're averaging about 350 trips that our students utilize that bus, which pretty much demonstrates that there is that bus is necessary for us. And it's consistently utilized by our students to access school and also other educational opportunities as far as like tech centers down in Burlington, also work-based programs that they use, and also other things like cultural activities and youth sports. For us, we think that the route has played a pretty big role in also student development. When they use that route, it teaches our students to be independent, responsible, good problem solvers, real world stuff, kind of stuff, just by learning how to navigate, schedules, transit technology, manage their time and stuff like that. So, they are learning a pretty valuable skill as far as that will prepare them, whether they go to college or any other city, in America or wherever. And also, gives them that opportunity, where they start to learn or do things independently.
Yes.
So I think in short for us, I try to keep it short, we would not like to see the elimination of the number 4. It does, if it does get removed, it would, remove access to opportunities for our students, and also, a pretty valuable learning experience.
Hunter, do you find that the students are using the service throughout the span of the day, or is it primarily at the beginning and end of the?
That's hard to tell.
Yep.
I can, just by my experience, I see a lot of students out in the morning and stuff. During the day, I don't necessarily see them.
Okay.
On that part, and probably at the end of the day. But I couldn't, tell you exactly, what those numbers were.
Understood.
I know that so far, for the last 7 months, our students have done about 2,400, a little bit over 2,400 trips, on that bus. And I think last year, last time I was here, when we were over at the other offices and stuff like that, we did an 8 months of data, and that ended up to be almost about 5,000 trips. Which would be about 618 trips a month.
Okay.
So they do use it. I know work programs in our district do have the students sometimes take those buses and stuff to get to appointments or back and forth.
When we made the change to make the number 4 just circulate within Essex, do you think that was helpful or hurtful for the students as far as how they use it? Because in some ways I see it simplifying things, making it much easier, and so maybe the learning curve is less, but then it doesn't go to Williston. So I'm just wondering, from your perspective, does that matter at all?
Well, I think I don't know how many students took it to Williston, but I think it did probably have a bit of a bit detrimental, just because we didn't getting to Williston would mean going down, coming back to Amtrak, going down on the number 2 to the Burlington, I think I see also a plus in that where it teaches them like now they have to actually like we said manage that trip by taking the number 4 to Amtrak, getting the number 2 down to Burlington, and then finding that Williston bus that takes them out to that other place. So there's that plus side of that being independent and managing their time and things like that. Detrimentally, it's not quite a straight shot anymore.
Yeah.
That it used to be.
Yeah.
But it does have the plus sides. We do have students that attend the tech centers right down off of Cherry Street also, which is a big thing for us. Yeah.
All right. Well, Hunter, thank you so much.
Yeah,
Chris, do you have
appreciate it. Thank you for your
questions for
time.
Hunter?
No.
Okay. Thank you so much for coming and sharing the perspective.
Thank you.
And so, who would like
So
to?
you know, I don't do close-ups, I do big, wide shot. There's no close-ups of a single person. It's all like this.
Okay. So, who would like to go next?
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, Hunter. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
That's good. Thank you.
So, hi, I'm Clayton with GMT. Please, you were at, I think, our last. Were you?
I was. I did keep
Yes.
coming, and I brought my kid last time.
Yes.
Because my daughter is one of the people he's talking about. She goes to Essex, and we live on Sand Hill Road.
Yes.
So it picks her up right at the school. She has been using it for years. She prefers that over the school bus. So I would think that's alleviates some of that budget if we have less routes where kids are taking the city bus instead. And then she works at Market 32. So after school, she goes from there to Market 32. And then if she doesn't feel like walking home, she can take the bus back. And it's been fantastic. I mean, she learns the system. It's helped her be more worldly, and it's a skill she can use anywhere in the world.
So taking that away is a big deal.
A big deal for Essex Town. I don't know how, I mean, plus I live on Sand Hill Road. Saxon Hill is behind us, which I don't know how many employees use that, but if we're going to keep developing that area, I would think we want the bus to be able to transport people. I see people on Sand Hill waiting for the bus all the time. Yeah.
CATMA just did a study, and I think there's about 800 folks that are working in the
behind?
in the Saxon Hill area there. That so absolutely.
And they're still building, so there's lots available, and there might be more. I think of Essex Town, the other problem with having a town kid, and once they go to the high school and they merge with the Junction, there's no real connectivity, especially in the winter. There's no safe place or way for them to get from the town to the Junction, so they're kind of cut off from their friends. And when the bus was cut, it made it more difficult for her to attend after-school programs. So she was in theater for a while.
Okay.
So it just meant we had to get in our car and go get her after that instead of the option of the bus. And it cut that away. And then just to see friends, there's a path behind the Essex Way, but it's hard from Sand Hill to safely get to there to even bike or walk into the Junction. We only really have the state roads other than that one path. So students, before they get their license, are pretty isolated from each other and can't really meet up for homework or assignments
And so did you find that with the previous changes no longer working for like theater classes, with that just because the span of service was less and it didn't run as late?
Right.
And so therefore didn't meet that need? Okay.
Correct. Yeah. But it is working that right after school, she catches a bus and then goes to work, and then we pick her up at night. But like tonight, that's why she's not here.
Okay.
She took the bus to work. And she's been taking it for years now. She graduates next year, but I feel bad for any kid that doesn't have that opportunity next year.
Oh, I think that you're absolutely right that it's a skill that sort of like riding a bike.
Skill.
Yeah,
it's such a
you learn how to use it. And
And the app is fantastic. I can see where she is as a parent too. If she's on the bus, I can follow her route and make sure she's outside at the right time. And she does it on her own now, but when she first started using it, the app is fantastic.
Right. And so that's using the transit app?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's great.
We just did some updates to our alert service so that now the Apple and Google Maps will have service alerts and stuff.
Oh, that's
so I was
cool.
just wondering if you were using the transit app or others. So.
Yeah, and she did mistakenly take the bus to Williston once, so I did have to pick her up at Williston one day because she got on the wrong bus.
Well, that's part of the life
only
learning.
once. So yeah, but I just really hope you don't cut the bus. I mean, it's just going to cut our communities apart even more. Essex Junction and Essex Town. We don't need to be cut apart anymore.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Could I interrupt for 1 second just to state your name for the record?
Gina Halpin Barrett.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. Does this mean they might not cut it? I mean, is there hope we don't cut it?
There's always hope.
I like that. All
You
right.
know, what I will say is that GMT's financial situation is not very good.
Right.
But at the same time, you know, I think that this reduction is going to get some attention, and attention sometimes, you know, leads to solutions that previously, you know, didn't exist. And so the board ultimately will make the decision. One of the things that I wasn't really planning on talking about this tonight, but I think it is relevant for folks who are concerned here, is that GMT as a municipality has the way that we raise our funds from the local municipalities sort of set in statute, and it's somewhat rigid. And there's legislation that's pending right now that would allow us to be a bit more free in how we collect our local match. So like right now, if the Essex School District wanted to contribute to our service, there's not really a pathway for them financially to do so. And this would allow that. And so to me, that's one of the reasons why I don't know whether this service can be retained, because I think that we may have a tool for us to raise local funds to preserve it in the next few months that may be helpful.
So the school districts right now cannot contribute if it's alleviating some of their bus budget?
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. So under our formula for assessment, we have a wonderful ability to tax our members, but it means that then our local money comes from our members only. And so Regina here, as the city manager for Essex Junction, is one of our members. We work with them each year on like, hey, this is what your assessment's going to be for us, just like you would get a property tax bill, you know, and have that. We give that bill to Regina, and what this would allow us to do is to look beyond our municipal members for that local match, so that if there is a business, if there is a school, if there is, you know, whatever that says, hey, this is important to us, they can contribute directly. And so who else would like to come up and talk?
I'm not ready to come up yet, but I just wanted to ask, like, those that may SVD. I know that during the pandemic, Essex versus School District was having trouble with bus drivers and drivers and having the staffing shortage of that, why the runs. Is that kind of deficit still happening, or has the driver reaching have recovered a little bit? Have we gotten more drivers? Have been more runs? Because never during that time, and I'm on the Facebook group. There's been some times where I've seen some bus routes get canceled because of a lack of drivers, and it makes me very, which by the way makes it very sad. But has there been any change? Has there been any improvement in that in recent years? If anybody knows that.
It's slightly better, but there's still always a shortage.
One of the very unfortunate realities for GMT with cutting 19% of our service, you know, it means that we've had about a 20% reduction in our drivers. That has come primarily, or I shouldn't say primarily, that has come entirely through attrition. We haven't had a layoff. But we don't have a labor shortage right now because we've cut service.
Also, just a couple of words.
Welcome.
Irene Renner. I chair the Essex Economic Development Commission, and we were eager to get to work on the CAPMA study, but then we're kind of caught in a limbo. Like, there's all this uncertainty, so I'll
Just
mention that.
So I can get it on here.
Irene
Say your name
Renner?
again, please.
Irene Renner.
Thanks.
Thanks. I didn't have kids who took the bus every day, but they took it occasionally when they needed to get somewhere, and they were a little bit spoiled, I would say, at having a mom who could usually drive them, and then when they were not able to be driven before Uber came along, they did take the bus on occasion, and despite all the complaints, I now note that they are in big cities on the East Coast where they use mass transit all the time. And so I'm glad they had that training, as was mentioned earlier. Nothing like getting the confidence and just the wherewithal and understanding how the pieces fit together in a transit system. My heart goes out to anybody who's taking it as a student right now or as an employee, because I think we have to work on doing things for the least, the less fortunate ones among us. And I think there's too much attention being paid to the loud people and the people who can afford to go to meetings because they have the time to do that. Or the means to do that, and I'm afraid that we don't see a lot of these folks who are working 3 jobs and needing the bus at the meetings. So I would just like to speak for people who can't speak for themselves. And finally, I'm looking at the gas prices, thinking that this might not be the time to cut a bus.
It's $4 a gallon.
And rising, right? So that's all.
We are very much looking to see if, but there's about a 2-month delay for us getting our ridership numbers. And it'll be interesting to see if there's a boost in ridership from the prices of gas.
Yeah. Well, thanks for all doing this. Appreciate it.
Thank you for being there.
Yep.
Who else would like to come and talk about either the number 4 or the 5 and 86 changes as well?
Oh, I know so much. Number 4, just as in general, buses in general.
Yep.
I'm Gina's older sister. I'm Lorraine Zaloom.
Nice to meet you. Lorraine.
Lorraine Halpin Zaloom. Yeah, I think we've met a few times before. I don't know if you recognize my face. But a couple of questions. Maybe you can help me understand a little bit better. I'm sure I've missed some of the meetings. The last meeting I was with, I think you met Alice, my niece, her daughter, and she spoke about being a student on the bus. And one of the things that I was surprised by was the collection of the data, because it seemed like you had a poor system of data collection. Has that improved? And if it's improved, how are you doing it now?
Well, I have great news in
Okay.
that Chris just laid out our new data dashboard to our board last week.
Okay.
And we have, since that meeting, we have been able to, with the help of Chittenden County Regional Planning Commission, be able to fund us to have additional data staff, or data and planning staff. So I would say that our data is probably better than it's ever been.
That's good.
Knowing that it still needs to improve.
Yeah.
But I'm going to let Chris talk about that. And one of the things that we can do is send you a link to the new dashboard so that you can see a plethora of the data. And I'm really happy that we're even have it in comma separated values so that if researchers want to be able to take our data and
They can download it.
they can download it and do stuff.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, so there's a lot of new data that's available, but there's sort of 3 primary ones. One is sort of overall ridership with also a measurement of the amount of service that's there. So that's one pretty basic thing. But the 2 other ones are, we implemented a new fare system back in 2024, and so there's a lot of data that we can glean from that, and so it's really helpful for us to sort of understand at a base level who our riders are, and so that is something that's available there. You can look at it by route, and then I think probably the one that's going to be the most interesting for the purposes of this is there's also a sort of stops dashboard. So we are taking bus stop dashboard, so you can see the ridership at a stop level and see
nice.
like how many people are using it, say along, in this case, Sand Hill Road or along any other corridor, and you can also break it out there. So I think that's another piece that I would encourage folks to take a look at. It's ridegmt.com.
So it's on the website?
Yep, /dashboards.
Okay. And then, so are you able to get demographics in terms of age as well then? Or
Not necessarily, but you could see, for a lot of our major partners, like the schools, you can see how many, Essex Westford School District or UVM or whatever sort of group you're looking at. Just see the sort of ridership in comparison to our overall system ridership or that route ridership or something else that somebody wanted to measure.
And then the school data that was mentioned by the transportation director, if I've got that right? Was that also included in this data? Was that folded in
Yes, that's all in there. Yeah.
for the data? Okay. And did that come from them or that was already?
That's part of an agreement that we have with the school district to provide that
Okay.
data.
Yeah, I was really concerned with that last because you were giving a presentation in front of our board, and it was really, I love the bus. We grew up with the bus. There were 6 of us kids in 7 years. Dad worked at GE, mom was stay-home mom. We were very frugal, and the bus system was part of being frugal. And to me, to learn how to use the bus teaches also financial responsibility as well as being an environmental steward, because it just makes more sense in terms of saving the climate, like these are all things that we're supposed to be working toward. And so when I saw that, and then of course, sadly seeing that the electric bus debacle, also I'm concerned that hurts the image of GMT as well in terms of what's going on in management. And I don't know if there's a way to help us understand how that happened, why a contract was signed without thinking about us being winter years mostly. That's just such a huge miss, and it's just disappointing on top of all of this. I want the bus. I lived outside of New York City as well. I think it's extremely important. I've traveled in France and London. I just think it's extremely important for us to learn how to use that. And I wonder if there's coordination as well between our school system so that we're constantly developing a new crop of users, because I think a lot of times it's people who just don't know how to use it, feel intimidated. So how are we managing to educate younger people that are going through the school system so that we can increase ridership? Are we doing things like that? Do we do public education in different ways for people like what's happening in Saxon Hill? Our economic development coordinator, who is now resigned or retired, Jean was actually working with Saxon Hill, but they were now working their own system because they had moved one company from, I can't remember, somewhere southeast, but they moved all of them to Essex. And so they created their own transportation system. I'm like, why? That's a miss for your company, in my view, that now they're hiring a private company. So those kind of bigger higher employers, I would like to see us to have some kind of training maybe for people in the employment system so that you can develop ridership as well. I think Jean got, I don't know, Irene, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, didn't she get over 40% return on the survey for that one company? It was Bristol, right? They moved from Bristol, I think it was. Yeah, I think it was like 45 or 50 something percent response rate from the people at that business. So however they got that response rate, that's something that you can learn from to figure out to get more riders. I'm also bummed that our leaders, our local leaders, aren't more supportive of this because it's an investment, and I'm sorry that the state doesn't invest a lot more dollars in it because it makes sense at this time to be pushing and educating us all on busing and light rail and things like that. So I hope you guys make it. I'm happy to push. My sister Gina is on top of it. So
Laura, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you for coming out tonight. Thomas, do you feel ready yet?
Yeah. Well, first of all, those that don't know, my name is Thomas Caswell. I'm a 12-year rider of the Essex Junction of the number 2 and I'm also on the Ridership Experience Access Council with Green Mountain Transit, and yeah, I would say the number 4. I said I've already been impacted by service cuts. My instant connection from here to Williston was eliminated in June last year, and that has been so inconvenient, especially in the winter, and I had to go all the way out on Burlington just to get to Williston, and that was not great. Although I was used to doing that in the evenings and on Sunday, that's not been great. It's not been great. Great. And I do take an Essex Center from quite a lot of time, and I haven't been on the 3:30 trip yet. I'll have to see for myself how much a ridership. But whenever I ride that one, even just to go home, even if the Essex Center just helping to get home, I don't have to take number 4. I can walk. But it's pretty dead. There's a lot of people on that route, and that kind of makes me sad. It's that service. I think one of the issues why many people are probably not taking it is because of the service, because the service was not great, because the service on it is not before when it was combined, it was every hour and 15 minutes all throughout the day, including Saturday. And then, you know, even though it's approved every half an hour now, it's when it only from 6:45 to 7:45 in the morning and 3 to 5:30 in the afternoon. Maybe that makes it a little bit harder for. Maybe I guess that probably also makes it a little harder for people. And also keep in mind, Essex High School starts at 8:40 a.m., which means there isn't a bus that gets students close to school, close to the time that they are trying to start. But I think that there might be a couple of solutions I can think of that might get to work. Christopher, I know a while back you told me about the possibility of bringing Michael Transit to Williston. Listen, I think that could even go even further beyond Williston into Essex, into Essex to bring that. Is to cover a portion of the Williston Village, all over 4 Route 10, just to cover that. So anyone who lives around the main fixed roads are about a quarter to half a mile away from what the fixed route does now. Now there could be like a van that could pick them up to bring people around. As for school, because I feel terrible about the situation too. About the situation because the school buses sometimes are not reliable. As I asked earlier, that maybe a neighborhood special could take the place of take some students to school, students to and from school during the day and the after, from school like they do in Burlington, just to because. Well, I'm one of the big reasons because I would definitely benefit from Michael Transit coming to Essex and Essex Center because if I could get a pickup instantly, especially during the winter, right from my home to like Walmart or out to Market 32 or it might benefit. I'm sure that there might be a lot of people that might benefit. But also possibly bring neighborhood special fixed service for those that consistency. And I did want to bring up the 86 because I'm probably one that does take it from time to time. And I understand because when I heard a while back the trial had been taken over Washington County, like, oh gosh, it's like, how are they going to do this? And it's like one of my first thoughts was, oh gosh, the Montpelier link because of the fact that because right now 4 operate out of Montpelier, 3 operate out of here, and it's like, oh gosh, then what does this mean? Does that mean Tri-Valley? Does that mean, is the thing in my friendly scenarios in my head, does that mean Tri-Valley? Does Tri-Valley do something similar to Middlebury? Tri-Valley does all the runs? GMT does all the runs, or they split them, or they still split, but knowing that Tri-Valley would you be using their cutaway bus. Tri-Valley would be using their cutaway buses. But the situation of having them all run by GMT is tricky. It's tricky because you would have to drastically change the schedules to make that work. Let's make that work. I mean, even if you try something like what you do with the Franklin County Link Express, and it's commuter by still calling a link because you're still going to link into another service here. There's scenarios. Say if we kept the times the same in either section, either section. Say the Burlington departure stayed the same. 625, 7, 750, 120, 445, 540. This would cause 2 of the morning routes to shift to going from Montpelier to Burlington back at after 8 a.m. and some 8 a.m. getting to Burlington after 9 or after 10, and that might be too late for some commute. And that will be too late for some computers. The midday would not depart probably until 2:30 probably about 2:30 in the afternoon. That's pretty late. That's pretty late for a midday trip. trip. Two of the three Burlington bound trips stay the same, 5, 10, 6 o'clock. But then that would cause us. But then the last trip of the day would be nearly 7 p.m. I don't know how much riders would take advantage of that evening trip. Or say if the Montpelier departure stayed the same, 5:50, 6:40, 7:30, 12, 4:10, 5:10, 6. Only the last two trips down to Montpelier would stay the same, 4:45. Otherwise, you would have the first PM trip at after 3 p.m. You would have the midday going down to Montpelier near 11 o'clock, and then all the morning trips would be very early, about 4:45 to 6:25 in the morning, and that might be too early for some. It might be too early for that might be too early for some people. So people like 6:25 a.m. seems a very early time slot for the last one in the morning. Although the Franklin County commuter does do it that way to get started. So you have to find routes that are manageable for 7 runs that all operate out of Burlington, but able to make the time slots still. But what they want to do is keeping the midday is a must. People use it and definitely use it, and that is the one that I take down to get to Montpelier, come back in the same afternoon. Because the 7:50 trip obviously doesn't cut it because that's really, really early in the morning. But even if the midday trip gets moved up to say 12 o'clock, get down there 1:15 and 1:15. I wouldn't mind staying extra time in Montpelier.
So definitely, if we're thinking about, we need to keep the midday and not use that trip on either of the ends, is what I hear from you right there. Is that midday trip is important to you?
That midday trip is important.
Okay.
That midday. My question is like, so in 7, like, is there actually considering possibly reducing from 7 runs to 5 per weekday?
I don't believe that that's what we're looking to do. I can tell you that you're right, that operating them all from here is going to be more of a challenge. And hence, that's why we wanted to make sure that we had this opportunity for people like you to come in and tell us. And so I don't know if we have anything else that we want to say about the 86 scheduling.
Nothing else in addition. I would say we were at UVA Medical Center yesterday. I was at National Life today talking to some state employees. We'll be at the Waterbury State Office Complex on Tuesday or Wednesday of next week to get perspectives from there. We've had a lot of folks respond to the survey, particularly for the link, also for the Route 4 and for the 5. But so we've gotten a lot of engagement and information of how folks utilize the 3 routes that we're talking about.
I do want to let you know that a few years ago you had mentioned that Williston was looking at a microtransit. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that we were concerned about would be the notion of like sort of regional microtransits instead of local microtransit instead of a regional. And so I don't think that we would be recommending a microtransit in any specific community. But what we are studying is combining a microtransit with our ADA service. And so for folks who have a disability that prevents them from using our fixed route transit, we offer ADA paratransit through SSTA. And so since we already are paying for there to be a fleet of vehicles throughout our service zone throughout the day, the thinking is that it probably wouldn't cost much more to add microtransit to that. It's something that other communities across the nation are doing. And so we're studying that now, and there's the potential that would go into effect. Our current contract with SSTA expires next summer. And so I do have to be just completely honest that our financial situation, is going to be a real barrier to progress here. But we are looking at at some point in time, we hope that there won't be, so many financial constraints, and that we think that having the fixed route with a complementing microtransit is probably the way to go.
There's expense. You also have to think about the vehicles because obviously right now GMT Junction County does not use any cutaway buses. Buses to routes because usually there's too many people that usually you can't fit 18 people.
Yep.
Usually you need more than 18 people on a bus at one time. One time to fix routes here, but it's just understandable. But for it's like what do you do? But what do you do? As you know, they already have Weimar Montpelier. Tri Valley is likely going to probably keep those vehicles and switch over to their name when they officially take effect July 1st. But then what would GMT? Just take some of the SSTA cutaway vehicles and just
I think that we would probably just continue to contract with SSTA and just have that be part of the new contract. Would be my guess for how it would be implemented.
So not just anybody can take SSTA because you have to have these qualifications and they can only take people for certain things and things. I feel like that they shouldn't. If they're going to open up, they should have something that's open to anybody to take advantage of that service.
And so the microtransit would be open for anybody, and so. One of the things that's kind of confusing with SSTA is that they are a provider that operates a number of programs, and each program has its own eligibility criteria. So their Medicaid transportation has rules for who can travel and under what conditions. The older and disabled persons program has rules for who can travel and what conditions. And then our ADA program has rules about who can travel and conditions. And what we would do is add microtransit as a new sort of bucket, but have it be a bucket that everybody could use. There would be a fare that people would pay, and it would sort of be a similar, like using Uber, but something you have to schedule in advance, and not quite as responsive. And so it would be a culture change, I think, for our partner SSTA, because it would be, opening up their services to the general population a bit more than they have before. But I don't think that GMT will be directly operating anything other than fixed route transit, at least for the foreseeable future.
And one thing I'll just add about adding that microtransit bucket is, as Clayton talked about, the financial situation for GMT, but we also hope that by providing that first or last mile with microtransit to our fixed route, that's going to get people on the microtransit, and then they would just transfer to, say, the number 2 to come from Essex if they're going to Winooski or Burlington or something like that. So it's also to help boost the ridership for our service to hopefully increase, whether that's federal, state, or other dollars to support the service.
And I know something I've heard you express concern about before, microtransit would probably work great at the airport, since we're no longer servicing the airport directly with our fixed route.
So and you can see this here, all this app here, all this put so this map right here, people at home can't see it, but I'll just describe what it is. It's basically covering what the former One Wilson Village used to do, but starting from like at Maple Tree Place, close to 2A, at least 2A, and next to Maple Tree Place on US 2, which used to cut, which the 1V used to go down Willistonville, somewhere North Williston Road and Mountain View Drive. But I have here. What Evan said is that it would take after Industrial Avenue, it would only be on US 2. It would be on US 2, and then it would deviate off the airport, drive to the airport. The airport, and I think that's this microtransit service could cover such as Airport Parkway, Lime Kiln Road, just to get those that need to get. It's called maybe those that live around Lime Kiln Road want to have a little assistance in this, like Michael's College to have to fix route. That's the number 2 because that. But wait, I know a person who lives in that apartment. That uphill is good. That uphill,
that's a hard walk.
It's cumbersome for some people.
Yes. especially for the senior housing. It's,
The Northern Mediterranean, Mediterranean is, and those of you know what he's talking about, the Northern Mediterranean is another senior housing that's on that road, so.
Thomas, as always.
I mean, I wish, and getting myself to bicycling to these places, a bicycling solution, it's a good solution, but it's not something I can take advantage of November to most of March, and I'm only limited to doing it between the months. It's in the peak April, which is this time of year, and October. Like there's like 6 months where I just can't take advantage.
Yeah.
I can't take advantage of. It's like, so if I don't want anything work, I'm stuck. Which I'm sure I can understand some of you are American. I'm with you all. I'm very concerned about these students not being able to get to school themselves as well.
Thank you so much, Thomas. Would you like to make a comment?
Just listening.
Okay, Regina, in the back?
I'm just thinking.
Just listening, okay. Is there anyone else that wants to make comment? Well,
What are
Tom,
your thoughts about what you're doing in terms of maybe rallying the troops to gain more support? Have you seen a change in thinking at all?
well, I can tell you what probably worries me most is that GMT gets 2/3 of our funding from the federal government.
Yeah.
And the current 5-year bill that funds public transportation expires this September.
Oh,
And we don't know what the new Congress and administration are going to provide for public transit funding moving forward. And that's probably my biggest concern, because the decisions that happen there are going to be on a scale much larger than would happen with local funding. And so even if we rally the troops and get strong local support, if we lose our federal funding, that could be extremely problematic for us.
is that annually funded?
So it typically is done with a 5-year bill.
Okay.
And so the last bill was done during the Biden administration. And so, of course, since it doesn't happen every year, it's an opportunity to, implement policy. And then, I imagine that the new administration will want to put their stamp on public transit.
Well, maybe voting will start by then.
Maybe.
Put some pressure that way.
Yeah. I do know that a lot of industry watchers think that there may just be a 1-year extension. And that may be sort of our best case scenario. Because as you could probably imagine, cramming everything into a bill that covers 5 years worth of public transit, it's a big bill. And they haven't started markup yet. And there's a lot of doubt that they're going to be able to get through by September 30th. So, but that worries me. Now, what I can say, if our federal funding stays the same, I do think that there is big improvements for GMT focusing on our urban transportation, because the rural transportation is fundamentally different and really stretched us, I think, too thin. And I'm really excited about the possibility of being able to have more service agreements instead of just asking property taxpayers to continue to pay more. And so I think that if our federal funds can stay, I'm kind of cautiously optimistic.
And when will you know, when you receive flexibility, when would that be approved for in-state?
So it's part of the transportation, the state transportation bill that has already passed the House with the language. The Senate, I think, is going to be looking to get it through their committee within the next 2 to 3 weeks. I would say that if it survives the committee look, I would be really shocked if it would come out. I'll say that just about everybody that we talk to is like, of course, well, why haven't you had this authority forever? So I don't think that there's going to be pushback on it, but I think as the person sitting next to you can tell you that trying to predict, what's an easy bill or what's an easy ask is pretty impossible. Yeah. Yeah.
You just have to give Ann Cummings a nudge.
Yes. There's a lot of change happening,
Yes, there is.
and that makes me nervous. But I think that there may also be opportunities. And I tell people, if it weren't for the money, I think that we'd be doing pretty good. but the money's kind of important. Yeah.
Clayton, I just wanted to give an update. There was a question about the sort of trend between gas prices and ridership. My team just sent me something while we were here. And right now, at the moment, we have ridership through the end of March, so up through about 2 weeks ago, and not a marked raising of ridership just yet. But I think, back in, was that 2008, 2012, when gas prices were high, that was sort of around the time that GMT did have sort of historic ridership at that point. So I think it's still a little early in terms of the sort of impact. And I think once folks feel maybe a little bit more pain of the gas prices, it will.
Well, and do you help coordinate and capitalize on marketing campaigns in that way?
So we're going to have signs on our headways like "Let us pay the gas" and
Across the side of the bus?
Yeah, on the head signs of the bus, we're working on some campaigns there.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I'll say one of the things that traditionally GMT has, I think, made a mistake on is that we haven't realized that marketing is. I think that there is a very cynical view that poor people don't need marketing to tell them to use the bus, and so we haven't, spent a lot of money on marketing, and but the reality is that marketing is how you tell the story to the community. And right now, the only real story that gets told is service cuts, an incident on a bus or at the transit center, and so that is not helpful.
Well, plus you have already paid for the billboards. You have billboards that travel everywhere, right?
Yes.
So,
Yes.
I mean, you've already paid for a lot of that marketing. It's just you have to be clever.
Yeah.
The other thing, for me, having grown up the bus, especially during my college days, drinking.
Yep.
I know it sounds silly, but that's a way to avoid, not being worried about it. So.
One of the things that really worried me is that the first thing that we cut over the past 2 years was weekend evenings.
Yeah, see?
And so, that, now I can tell you from a labor relations perspective, our drivers are not crazy about transporting folks that are, a party bus. But, I'm at least nobody has drawn any dots saying that, since GMT cut this service, there's been a big boost in DUIs. But that was certainly something that worried me.
Well, I'm thinking about, we love black flannel. I don't know if you're familiar with black flannel.
Yes.
But as a brewery, what we've seen over the years with them as they grow is they're attracting people from Burlington.
Yes.
And so to me, I would also want to talk to Chris or a couple of Chris Line as well from the Cider Lab, who's growing his business as well. And those to me are missed opportunities as well.
Well, it just so happens that I think that having a brewery tour on a Saturday type thing would be something that we could use our newfound flexibility to, because when we're cutting service that moves dependent riders, or that and cutting service that people use to get to work or healthcare appointments, I can't really be proposing a beer run.
It's good for your health.
But if we have a situation where the beer run can be funded,
right?
And it doesn't take away from getting people to work, then I can certainly see activities like that. Because what I also think that we need to do, we talked a lot about getting students onto the bus when they're younger. But we need to create more gateway opportunities. And so whether that's hey, there's concerts, there's, the fair, Lake Monsters games, like trying to, convince people to use the bus for an event that they would normally have big parking or a hassle.
Right.
And then they can be like, oh, well, that wasn't so hard,
Right.
and then maybe that will spill over. And I really, to go from 5 counties worth of transit to 1 county is really going to give us the opportunity to dive into things that we've never, been able to before, or at least the past 20 years. Any other thoughts, concerns?
I was gonna say after number 2, I did see something on the sheet. Let's see on the sheet. Oh, by the way, Essex. By the way, what was I mean, Essex? Number 2 got lucky. Number 2 got lucky with the Saturday service still to 10:30. That one's still to 10:30 on Saturday. That one is lucky still to 10:30. I saw the data sheet. There was a possibility of the 2 extending out to Essex experience, similar to what the number 10 did back for a year.
Thank you so much.
Similar to what the 10 did for a year, 2019-2020. That's a 2020. But if there was consideration of implementing that, what would it look like? Would every other trip, every 40 minutes weekday, every 60, every hour Saturday? I don't know. I know that might also I was concerned that might cause might cause some issue. Well, got some issues with the time point departures from Amtrak to Burlington.
Absolutely. I certainly wouldn't envision a scenario where it goes to the Essex experience for every trip.
No, I would not experience that either. But
yep. And but the reality is that Town of Essex is a member. I'm a resident of the Town of Essex, and if we eliminate the number 4, then the Town of Essex will have no service.
Right.
And so.
Some of the 4.
What's that?
Tiny bit in the fort.
Tiny bit in the fort, yes.
Let's not forget it.
We can't forget that. But the vast majority of the Town of Essex won't have any other service. And
I thought that was also Essex Junction.
I think there's both, isn't it? I mean, there's
just a little part between Susie Wilson and about halfway down.
Is that the town or the
town?
That's the town, right? Yeah. Yeah. And I forgot what I was saying. But I'm sure it was probably not that profound. So I, just because I want to be good to my own town, I do want to explore with them, hey, what would it look like if we extended this to the Essex experience, and that's where I think that I start thinking about my human services background, because when I think Essex experience, I think, well, there's a shopping center there. And there's, necessities there that people need to, there's a lot of medical offices that are, close by there. And so I would hate to see us eliminate.
Plus, this is a long shot, but maybe expand that route to Old Gore for the Market 32. Just turn around there and go back. It feels like I know it's probably a long shot, but
it's a long shot. But here's the other thing: is that doesn't that also get you closer to the food shelf?
There's a food shelf.
There's a food shelf.
Dots, yes.
Yeah. And so that's something that here Chris is probably thinking, does he know that we're going through a financial catastrophe? But this is something that I would love to get people to the food shelf. I'd love to get them to grocery stores, and if we could find a way,
And also, a second question is that is there a plan to temporarily reduce the weekday service on the Essex Shower North Ave to only every half an hour for 10 weeks? Again.
In the summertime?
Yeah, between June 15th and August 23rd.
Yes. And so we will be operating on a reduced summer schedule again. Yeah.
And so hopefully say Honda. I thought I would just bring that up just so people don't like it. It's like wait, just so like wait a minute. Because the public would be like wait a minute. So we don't. They since the public are not in shock that they're going to be doing this again. I guess like wait. I was like wait a minute. There's a back only like wait a minute. There's a possibility this could happen again this summer.
Yeah.
This summer, then 20 minutes coming back August 24th.
Yeah. So we will definitely be going to the reduced schedule with June 29th.
Yes, so I was just going to make the correction that June 29th is when the summer schedule will be going into effect. That's partially with the rural transfer that Clayton was
So
talking
you're
about.
not going to implement 2 weeks early in the 15th?
Correct.
When the 15th?
So it'll be about an 8-week summer schedule instead of the normal 10.
Instead of 10. Oh, because I was thinking the 15th because schools, yet again, some school districts don't get out of school until the week of June 15 to 15. MAUSD is June 17, for example. Let's see, for example, and I guess it's lots of looks around the same next year. It's going to be around the same next year too. So you So you're just going to start the Monday right before July 1st instead of starting the
service
change in the middle of the week.
That's correct.
That's exactly what Drive Only would do.
One thing I just want to make sure to mention before other folks maybe leave is we still have 2 other public meetings that are happening after today. We have one on Monday at 5 p.m. at the Burlington Public Works Department building, and then another one on Tuesday, April 14th at noon. That's a hybrid meeting in person at the GMT headquarters over on Queen City Park Road in Burlington, and also on Zoom. And to also, just if anybody else wants to either provide comment and written comment or tell your friends to write written comment, you can write an email to planning@ridegmt.com. And me and my team will capture that and provide that to our board when they make their decision on April 21st. And there's more information on ridegmt.com/public meetings that has a little bit more of the data specifically for the routes that we're talking about tonight.
Thanks so much.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you coming out. Regina, thanks for hosting us.